Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to Behind the Veil, a show that provides insight into the world of weddings and events. I'm your host, Keith Willard. Welcome back to the show. Today, we're going to be talking about unique venues, and not just about unique venues, but the management of unique venues. I mean, it's incredible how many fabulous places there are in South Florida that were born out of a random necessity. And specifically, I'll even bring up Redline Koi Gardens. It started as a family backyard space for their extended family. And then somebody said, you know what, this would be an amazing place to do a wedding. And then all of a sudden, a new business was born. But did it really make sense for them to be delving into the wedding industry? And then what do they do with this product? So Austin Blake is our guest today, and he has figured out a way to make these places not only profitable, but manageable for both weddings and corporate events. So I'm going to bring him on shortly, but let me first bring on Marcy Gutenberg with An Affair to Remember by Marcy. Hi, Marcy.
Hello.
So that's one of the things that we really, in South Florida, we really enjoy is the fact that we have so many unique venues.
The creativity is endless down here. I mean, our guest today really is a really creative person with so much insight into the market, not just down here, but around the world, really. I mean, he seems to have a lot of handle on a lot of different aspects. So it's very exciting to come across somebody like him. And we're happy to have him today.
And then being able to create a workable system that is going to be profitable and easy for couples and corporate companies to be able to get to these unique venues.
Right. And it takes a lot of the stress off of the venues itself because he knows the ins and outs of what's going to work and what isn't going to work for a particular venue.
Yeah. So let's bring him on. Austin Blake, welcome to the show.
Well, hello. Thank you, Keith. Thank you, Marcy.
Hello,
Appreciate it. So happy to be here today.
Oh, so tell us a little bit about, so you're the founder of Legendary Events and Productions LLC, or LEAP for short. So tell us a little bit about LEAP.
Absolutely. So LEAP is what I started back in June of this past year, 2022. So I was working with a catering company, and one of the big things that I did while working for that company is I went throughout the entire state of Florida, from the Keys all the way up to Fort Pierce, Jensen Beach, and way north up there. So I got to see a lot of extremely unique different venues. So I was presented an offer to come to the Redline Koi Gardens and kind of take over there, do the sales and operations for the site, and kind of have that be the first little plaything that I was able to get my hands on to, expand this whole idea of coming to new venues and teaching them how to become profitable on a day-to-day basis. So at that venue, throughout the course of the week, Monday through Thursday, we have martial arts classes. During the week, we have tours on property where people get to come in with their blankets, bottle of wine, a couple of glasses, and hang out here on property. Charge a little bit of admission, and there's a lot of different things that goes on in that space. So that space in the last 6 months, since June, when it was repurchased by friends of the original owners, built 2 additional Airbnbs so that people would be able to stay there on property, flip the main house and had that rezoned in a different way so that they would be able to have multiple different rental properties within the same property. It's just been amazing. It's almost turned into a resort that you get to do
That's
events.
what I'm saying, though, is you took this family backyard event, this backyard kind of facility, and it's incredible, by the way. So I did a wedding there before it was operated or managed by you. And then since then, what you have done with that facility and how you've expanded the vision, the vibe, the everything that comes with it. I mean, you've taken that existing idea and changed it in a way that I could have never even imagined ever. I mean, the idea that you could take this facility and turn it into like a spa retreat. What? It's like you thought of all different possibilities that I don't think anybody else had ever thought of. And you're doing that for all the properties.
Yes, exactly.
That's a great, when you're thinking about it, it's a win-win situation because the revenue that they're gaining off of these additional features and the people that come to them, they have a new place to go to with all these exciting, these exciting ideas.
Exactly, and that plays in big with the vendors. So by coming in and allowing these places to have a whole new lookout on the way that they're actually bringing in clients, doing the events themselves, and the people that they're working with, you
Yeah.
end up meeting so many incredible professionals that you can tell right from the moment that you're speaking with them, they care about their clients. They
Right.
care about what happens at these events, and they want the very best to go on for anybody that they're working with. So through that entire process, you meet the very best in the industry. And as much as we love working with, people that we've done business with, people that we know are good, there's something special when you are able to bring different companies together to
Mm.
create experiences for all the different clients that come their way.
So how's that process? Like, and of course we're going to bring up Red Line Koi Gardens because that's is a common common point of placement that we all know of. How did you come into the property and then start figuring out how to not change it, but to expose it to different possibilities?
So that's the beautiful thing about all these different venues throughout the state. So, as you know, you've been all over the place working at these different venues. You have so many different niches for each venue.
Right,
One venue might have a barn that's got a second floor that you can take photos on. One venue might have Airbnbs you can stay in.
right,
One venue might have animals, horses, whatever the case is. So it's a lot of working with the owners, with the existing sales,
right,
figuring out what worked and what didn't work for them along the way. One of the biggest things that I do when I work with a new sales team is I look at their lost leads. Lost leads is
interesting,
one of the most important things to know what's going on, how you're losing your potential clients. So
interesting.
by looking at talking about, all right, well, what was the issue? The issue was your venue is difficult to get to. How do you market that? You
Right,
switch up the wording. It's an exclusive venue that you will have absolute privacy on. These tiny little changes of thought and speech and vernacular, that's what changes, and that's what really, allows the existing salespeople to grow into a fantastic team member. Because that's one thing that you don't want to do. You don't want to bring in, somebody like me who's going to be an expert for you and show you all the different things, but get rid of your years of partnership with these people.
right.
One of the most important things that I do is bring everybody up to par, get everybody to the point where they are comfortably able to take over the will of the owners of these properties, whatever is best for them.
I find that fascinating too because one of the things that as an owner of a property, and lost leads is not one of those things that emotionally I think that a lot of people would be willing to do, because then it's looking at failures, and you're not looking at it as failures, you're looking at it as market research. And
Exactly.
so there's not an emotional component to it.
Exactly. And that's, I can tell you from experience, people are very, very afraid when you start bringing up, let's go look at why we lost these leads. There's a
Nice.
little bit of a thing of fear going on of, ooh, did I mess up? Is there something going on that I did wrong on the salesperson's side? And most
Right.
that's just not the case. More often than not, and this is something for you specifically, Keith, how often are you approached with individuals that are looking for all inclusive packages that
Mm.
include the DJ, flowers, tables and chairs, food, alcohol, the whole nine yards?
Not often, actually. I have to tell you, not often. I mean, but
Really?
yeah,
That's actually very interesting.
yeah, but my
So
business is a
perhaps,
little different.
yeah,
I'm on
perhaps
the wedding
that's
planning
the
side.
difference
So
between, managing a venue and being a planner. So when you're a
right,
planner, most of the time you're going to be able to put you in touch with all the different, piecemeal packages, essentially what we do. We
right,
put everything together one little bit at a time rather than a client finding a caterer that is all inclusive. Someone like Bill Hansen, for example, that you can
right.
get your tables and chairs, charger, flatware, glassware, alcohol, cleanup, setup, breakdown, all of it in one shot. So that's definitely one of the big things. And when you're working with these clients, is that you have options for them. They
Right.
can absolutely go into the big package and go with everything, make it as easy as possible for them, or they can truly customize as perfect as it possibly can be their event experience.
So when you take over these new properties and you start envisioning these new concepts, and again, I'm going to go back to Red Koi Gardens because you add an Airbnb portion to that was not part of that existing culture beforehand, and it made total sense, because then you're like, okay, we're talking about a resort, we're talking about something that's a little further out than most people are used to, but still that exclusivity, but being able to stay on property was never an option before, and now it is.
Yes. So one of the things that the original owners did when they were expanding and kind of getting themselves really into the whole event industry,
Yeah.
one of the things that they had built on property was a Japanese tiny home. Now, that Japanese tiny home, originally, this is a family's location. That was where the in-laws would stay, give them a nice place of property, set them up
Right.
there. Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. It ended up being something that was a rented out bridal suite. It had a full bathroom. It had the space that was needed. And when we came on property, incredibly underutilized. It was renting on Airbnb, but it just wasn't being as utilized as it could have been.
Right.
So looking at what we had, seeing how it had failed in its own ways and seeing how it had succeeded in its own ways, we said, it's time to double down. Let's not get rid of this. Let's build more, and let's figure out a way to incorporate staying here on property with these events. And it's
Nice.
turned into something where we have it planned out, where we have our clients staying with us the day before their wedding. They get to do a rehearsal dinner and a rehearsal party in the pool area, hang out all throughout the property. The next day is magic. You
Right.
wake up on property. You don't have to go anywhere. 8:30 in the morning, you have hair and
So
makeup
smart.
show. By 11 o'clock, you're doing your first look and you're taking your individual shots. You're taking family shots. So by 3 o'clock, you've got 2 hours of nothing to do before your ceremony. Whatever comes along in that timeline, you have all the comfort time in the world to make changes, touch up hair and makeup, whatever it is that you guys want to do, so that after ceremony, 15, 20 minutes of photos and you're joining your cocktail hour.
Right. Right. And so what do you find that most couples are looking for? And I don't want to say brides, because it's couples. Most couples, what are they looking for? Because you mentioned all inclusive before, having everything as part of it. Is that seem to be a big trend currently?
So I would not say this is a trend. I will say that I have experienced a lot of people who ask, does your venue come with tables and chairs? Does your
Right.
venue come with the food and alcohol and everything else included? So what ends up happening is you kind of have this idea in people's minds where they want to go to a location that everything is included, so they don't have to go through the craziness of
Right.
putting together a wedding. And it's crazy. I'll tell everybody who's listening now, if you are getting ready to put together an event, a wedding, a birthday party, have fun.
Right.
Reach out to the experts, pick up as much information as you can, watch all of these episodes, and you'll really get a good idea for how crazy it can get at times when you are going through all of this. So that's definitely a big thing, but it's less a matter of people wanting and needing locations that have everything included. It's
Right.
more a matter of people not understanding that you can piecemeal a package. You can customize everything down to the last little T. We
Right.
have clients that come through that will have, for example, this is a shout out to them, the Paella Kings. The
Oh
Paella
yeah.
Kings
Good
are
company.
awesome company, great caterer, but that's what they do. They do the food. They don't
Yeah.
really have too many services outside of that.
Nope.
So you have to
Paella only.
your bartenders, your servers, event staff, cleanup crew, and all these different things.
Separate.
So
Yeah.
you might have a fear about having to do all those extra steps, but what you don't understand that in those steps, you've saved hundreds, if not thousands, by only getting it what it is that you want, or
Right.
even if it's something along the lines of the deal just wasn't going to work out well with all inclusive. So let's start looking at what our options are for all the different things that are out there. There are so many incredible small event companies that are, hidden, so hard to find. You could not Google and find all the amazing services that some of these companies have.
That's
So
true.
that's another wonderful
true.
thing about being a venue here too, is that you have these clients that end up finding these amazing individuals, putting them in touch with people like us so that we can start talking about them and kind of getting them out into the scene. There's a lot of really fantastic people out there, and that's for sure.
So what is it like having to manage multiple properties that are very different? Because we've been running them on the ticker tape below, because we talked about Redline Koi Gardens, but you also have a winery, right?
Yes, yes.
So
The
tell us a little
Schnebly
bit about these
Winery.
other venues that you manage, and then like what the process is to how you market them, because they are different.
Yeah. So it's so very, very different for each location. So, for example, the Redland Koi Gardens. Now, as we remember, the Redland Koi Gardens was a family owned property. This is something that the family had been living there, excuse me,
Yep.
and had created that event space for their daughter to run. So
Yeah.
they were really only utilizing the space as often as it made sense for the daughter to have an opportunity to run an event. Now, this is a mother of three. It's very
Right.
difficult to take away a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday from the kids. So when we took over, they only had 15 events booked from 2022 through 2024.
Oi.
Big
Wow.
gap, not a lot of things happening. So on
Wow.
that venue, it's a lot of new sales, new events, and taking it in totally different direction as to what kind of events can be done there. So that venue really lends itself to wellness retreats. So we've
Right.
been doing a lot of things on the realms of plant medicine, going into Reiki, yoga, qigong, sound baths. We have so many amazing features to our wellness retreats that we've been putting on.
Nice.
And now let's talk about a venue like Palapa, for example. So
Yes.
Palapa of Upper Buena Vista was an amazing venue. People have seen it all over. They ask me about it all the time. Hey, have you ever heard of Palapa? Hey, yeah, I have.
Yeah. Yeah. Manage it. Yeah.
But there was an issue with the licensing while they were doing their events. So they had to take a
Oh.
big step back to get the proper licensing to be able to do it in the very best way possible, because
Right.
technically where they sit, it's residential. There are houses all over. So in this process of getting the correct licensing and being able to do all of these events, we've had to take a step out of doing the Palapa events. If you remember Palapa,
Mhm.
we hosted our own ticketed events that we were doing, through that space.
Right.
Now we have the licensing and permissions for private events. So it's switching up from the amazing performances and music and dancing and everything else that we've had. It's utilizing those same performers as package deals for the space. So that's a very small niche change for that specific venue. And then we
Right.
look at a venue like the Schnebly Winery. Schnebly Winery is a staple, is an absolute staple in the state of Florida. So many people know it. And if you've ever driven around Homestead, you will see the state registered signs, winery that way. That's all you need to know, that this place is fantastic. It's amazingly put together. It's gone through several different renovations. A little bit of an update on what they got going on. So recently, in the last couple of years, they built a brewery. So the brewery
Right.
was amazing. It's such a cool event space as well. Well, now they're getting ready to build a distillery.
What is that?
It's going to be for whiskeys and browns and all sorts of nice liquor in that regard. So you'll have wine, beer, and liquor being brewed and created out of the same location. So that space,
Wow.
every week,
Wow.
they go through 1,200 glasses of sample wine. They do wine tasting. They send people home with their glasses and all sorts. They have so many people throughout the course of the week. They have a restaurant. They do big line dancing and different events. They do a lot of things with the city. So their niche is so very, very different. It's a lot of bringing in specific clients that are going to best be able to utilize a location like that. And
Right.
not only that, but it's something that smaller events, 10, 20, 30 people, they're able to rent out specific portions of the winery and of the brewery and be able to do events in specific locations. So you can absolutely still have your regular operations going on while an event is taking place in a secluded part of your property. So there's a lot of difference in between each of these venues. So I will say, it is fun. It's quite a puzzle figuring out what works out best. And there is trial and error along the way, as there
Yep.
is with all things, but if you never try, you'll never succeed. That's
It's
very
funny
important to remember.
because while you're talking, I'm looking these places up because I'm like refreshing my own brain, and like Palapa, Miami. I was like, oh my God, that's right. I mean, and they, all of these locations are just totally unique and outdoor and different than what you would see for like a hotel kind of vibe. It's not your
Exactly.
hotel vibe.
Exactly. And
I mean,
I
you,
won't say anything on the hotel side of things, but it's never been my first choice to go with a location that has been doing the same thing for the same people all of these times. So
right,
for me, I want to know what grandma made Sunday afternoon, a dip, a dish, anything that we can bring into the menu, that we can bring into the decor to make the event yours. That's one of the most important things for me anyway, when it comes to, discussing with the clients how they want the event to go. How do
right.
we make this yours? I don't want to do the same thing I did for John and Sally 4 months ago. Let's do something special for you.
So I noticed that a lot of these venues are also outdoors. So have outdoor settings.
Mhm.
Do you find that people ask that question or want to book within a certain time of the year, meaning like October through May? And
Yes.
then, what
Absolutely. So when you have outdoor venues and you do not have covered outdoor spaces or
yeah,
covered indoor spaces,
right,
you are most certainly going to go and find yourself not being able to book out certain parts of your year.
right,
So you'll have more dead periods, I should say. Every venue is going to have, periods of time throughout the year where they'll have opportunities to start working on new projects. Let's
right.
put it like that. Not much going on, throughout the summer months and everything like that, especially with the hurricane season. But for example, a location like the Redland Koi Gardens, we have several different outdoor and indoor covered spaces. So
Right.
one of the things that the original owners did, I really want to say this was back in 2015, it might have been a little bit earlier than that, had built a dance hall. It just worked out well. So even though they have a covered outdoor space, you never know how hard the wind is going to be blowing. The wind
Right.
might be blowing so hard that no matter what, you're still getting wet, even in a covered space. So building something like that to accommodate, and this is a very good point that you made earlier, making the decision as to when something like this is a good choice for your venue. You have to look at past events. You have to look at your current leads, what kind of clients are coming your way, who is going to be able to execute and do these things. So that's one of the big things that you have to think about when you are thinking about expanding or trying a new practice is
Yeah.
how has this worked at another location? Could it work here? And what have we been doing wrong or right that would help make this happen?
And then what do you do as far as packages now? I mean, so because you're branching out not just in weddings, but corporate events and other like festivals and retreats. Are you now having to come up with different packages that focuses on each of these clients? So that way you do have a wellness retreat package. You do have a meditation package, a wine package. I mean that to me that just seems like a lot of extra work, but I can also understand why it's because it's filling in business that wasn't available there before. Because most people think Monday through I think Friday, Saturday, Sunday when it comes to weddings, but then you still have Monday through Thursday with what do you got
Exactly.
going on? I mean that
Exactly. So, I guess that was a two-part question. I'll go into the
yeah.
second half
Sorry,
of it
two
first.
part question. Yes, thank you.
So Monday through Thursday, what do you do?
Yes,
What happens every day around 2, 3 o'clock? The
I
kids
get
get off
tired.
school. The kids get off school. The kids get off school. What do you do between that time where perhaps one of your partners won't
Oh,
be home
smart.
later until night? You have to do something to stimulate the kids. Maybe they're not in sports. Maybe they're not in martial arts or any other out of school extracurricular activities. So
Right.
bringing them to a park, bringing them to an amazing venue where they can see animals and all sorts of different amazing things, like the koi gardens, for example, or just bringing them out to a place where you can have dinner, the winery. Places like this, that's how you
Nice.
are able to utilize on a daily basis. And it's creating these spaces for the communities to come in. So that's another big thing that I was
With
mentioning
Leap.
before
Yeah.
we spoke here. Um, it's creating community centers. Truly, it's working with the cities. It's working with different private companies and individuals all throughout whatever area that the events are in or wherever your venue is, and bringing in the very best of those around you, and letting them touch different people that come their way, and having that whole realm of, the success minded individuals, those who are out there to help each other succeed and things like that. That really is what brings value when you are working with additional people, and
Sm-
specialty packages and things like that. So the
Smart.
specialty packages and everything else that we were just discussing here. Absolutely. So, as I was saying before, people love it when it's easy. So, one of the things that people do is they ask for those all inclusive venues where the food and everything else is included. The
Yeah.
same concept when you are not a location that truly has everything. For example, let's go back to the Koi Gardens because we love using that as an example.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
we have it set up where our preferred vendors list, you have everything that you could possibly want to go through. It's set up where you can answer not answer, ask any questions that you would like back to the venue before contacting the vendors themselves. So
Nice.
as you're going through all of the different things, let's say it's a birthday party, you're not going to need the floras, or you might, depending on what you want to do, but you're not going to need a lot of the things that you would have for a wedding. Well, in this scenario, you're absolutely taking advantage of being able to speak with whoever the event salespeople are, whoever the person is that is running the venue, or your planner, who most likely will have some sort of an arrangement with these venues, who will be
Mhm.
able to take you through all the different things that have happened in those locations. So by creating the specific packages for them, you make it as easy as possible for someone to get in the correct headspace to start making those decisions. I think that's the most important thing for couples to kind of get under their belt, is your thought process.
I like what you said about community
Yes.
partnership.
Yeah.
Because a lot of these venues, these unique venues, are located in urban areas next to houses in smaller neighborhoods that may have been annoyed at previous events because they didn't really do a good job of communicating with them. And I like the idea that you're like, look, no, we want to be inclusive. We want to start bringing people in. We want a place for the neighborhood kids to be able to come and do an educational program that might not have been available before. I mean, that's so smart to do something
Exactly.
like that.
And I can tell you right now that, excuse me, our neighbors have been amazing. So our neighbors, they come over 2, 3 times a week just to come over, hang out, drink a cup of coffee with us.
I love it.
It has been so wonderful connecting with the individuals that are, in the area, and that, and they've even brought in their own friends and different individuals who are looking to do special events, that are looking to host a private dinner on property and do something fun and things like that. So you buy speaking with the people that are around your venue, and creating and joining as many message boards. Communities have message boards, look them up. As soon as are looking at a specific area, type
Yeah.
in into Google, type into WhatsApp, find whoever the city commissioner is. Most of the time the city commissioner is going to have access to community message boards, and you'll be able to start speaking to individuals all throughout the area right through WhatsApp, or other types of Telegram, and all the other different social media networking platforms that you guys can speak on. So
Right.
that's another wonderful thing about the community side of things, is just becoming friends with your neighbors, and from there, all of the different amazing things that they are looking for, you can implement into your venue and make it even better for those around you.
I love that. What is one of the most difficult pieces that you go into when you take over a new property? What's kind of like the hardest part?
Good question.
The mindset and the heart set
Mhm.
of the owners and salespeople.
Oh yeah.
When you have people that have been, doing the same thing for many years, it's worked for them, but it has not been the very best version of what they could be doing. It's extremely difficult to get individuals like that to accept a new way of thinking. You
Yep.
might be doing something very similar to what you were doing before, but by changing one step in the way that you think about how you're doing it, you're providing a much better service for those individuals. So there are very, very slight
Yeah.
personal and mental changes that have to come along with changing your venue and changing your daily practices of how you've run your space for so long.
And then do you find that because you are very young, I'm going to say this, right? You're very young, especially to somebody like me. Do you ever get any pushback because of your youth? Because, you know, it's obviously, you know what you're doing. You have a proven track record already. It's crazy to me that how much success you've already like boom, boom, boom. Do you find that people are like, oh, but you're so young, huh?
So the young side hasn't really affected me when it comes to you know, having the respect. The
Yes.
respect has been given because, as you've said, I've proved myself time and time again.
Right.
The one thing that I will say is a pushback is I don't want to call anybody out, but what the word I'm going to choose here is laziness.
Yes.
When you have an individual
Yeah.
professional who's sharing with you all of this information, and not only that, but is also quoting and is sharing with you titles of books, titles of articles, names of individuals, and videos of people speaking.
Right.
When all of this information is being presented to you, and one does not go through that information and try to, you know, understand what really it is that we're trying to accomplish, that's where there can be a little bit of pushback, and making sure that you are actually digesting all of the information that's being shared with you. That might be my only problem that I've had with, you know, any management or salespeople that I've worked with.
And that's pretty typical, I will say. I mean, anytime, like, you know, especially with my catering background as going from catering manager to director of catering and taking over new places, that's always been the kind of pushback. It's like, oh my God, it's a new idea. Okay, now you're freaking me out. What do you mean?
We've always done it this way.
We've always done it this way.
Always done this way. We never had an issue. It's always worked well.
Exactly. And it's like, well, no, because now we're here to make a profit. That's our job. We've gone from a family-owned business that we did it because of our kids, now to a for-profit business that really is riding on the success of bookings. Got to have those bookings.
Exactly.
You know?
You have to change so very much. And I'll tell you now, and I'll tell all the vendors and venues that are looking to give me a call. Scary, but I'll be there with you to help you out. So it's a very scary ordeal that you go through in deciding what will be best for your future. The future is always scary, but we will always meet it if we need to.
Yeah. So go ahead, Marcy, you first.
I have a question about clients. So in particular, you know, we all work with clients that some of them are super creative and they're looking for a creative individual like you. And when they come in and they're not that creative, but they want to necessarily, they want to do something that maybe their friends have done. How do you get them to get out of that mindset and tap into their own style as a couple? Because, you know, the couple, the event should be reflective of the couple, not of what a typical event is. How do you get them to change their mindset with regards to that?
So I was actually thinking to myself as you were asking that question, who's more fun to work with? Who know exactly what they want? Or the people who want something crazy, but they don't know how crazy they want to be?
Right.
In my experience, I would say that the individuals who come to the very first vendor meeting with a clipboard, a whole list of photos and pictures and color panels and everything else you could possibly have, I can't speak. Individuals like that are fantastic to work with.
Right.
But they can also be very hard and set in with what they want.
100%.
For example, this is something that I recently had at one of my venues. They saw a photo of an oval table at a venue. Don't know where this was. I guess it was somewhere in Florida. Oval table. Who has oval tables? So very few rental companies. I think 2 or 3 names come to mind of the 20, 30 of them that we all use. So it can be very difficult with getting somebody to get the dream image out and bring in the best of practicality and reality.
Yes.
So those are the big things, because at the end of the day, the sky and the budget are the limit.
Yeah. Well, and then Events on the Loose, by the way, has oval tables. Just FYI, if you're listening, we love
Events
Events
on
on
the
the
Loose is
Loose.
exactly who
We
we're
love them.
Yeah,
who
yes.
utilized on that event that I'm talking about.
Yeah, because they do a really good job of coming up with like unique furniture. What about marketing collateral? Because now you're walking into a business that may not have had any type of marketing collateral. Like I know Redline Koi Gardens, they only booked because of word of mouth. They didn't do any actual like reaching out to the community, reaching out to like the Knot or any of these other wedding kind of specific sites. They were all word of mouth. That's the only way you would find out about them. And so now you're coming in and you're helping unveil these unique locations.
Exactly.
How do you go about that process of
The big thing here
opening it?
is looking at where they are currently posted. You might have a location that's just on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Right.
If you're lucky, you're coming into an event space that is on Wedding Pro, on Wedding Wire, and the Knot can be found. You can check out all of the past events that have been done there.
Right.
Those locations are fantastically, well put together. All of the information that you would need to see past events and to hear from other clients. Those types of referral agencies are really the bread and butter for event venues and being
Right.
able to, have these things come through. I will say that these things come with a tremendous cost. For example,
Yeah.
I can tell you now that we spend upwards of $3,000 a month at the Koi Gardens on all of our marketing. So between our Facebook and Google ads, our Wedding Wire and the Knot, and all the other things, I recently had an
Preach.
individual
Preach.
come and meet with me. So she is a representative for a local magazine. So these local magazines, I don't know if you guys ever got to experience these growing up. This is something that I would every month be so excited to receive in the mail because it would tell me what's happening that month. So
Right.
every month you get this local magazine that shows photos from the baseball teams, the football teams, the soccer teams. It shows what's happening in the community. It
Right.
tells you when the Our Town Festival is coming around. It tells you when all the different fun things in the area are going to be happening, when a race
True.
is, what a concert will be. So there are actually advertising slots on those, very specific to families, those types of magazines. So working with individuals like that,
Yeah.
that gives you a direct line into the households of all these families. Because what happens when you receive a magazine? I get a magazine, toss it on the coffee table, sits there for 2 weeks, then it goes in the garbage. But in those 2 weeks, I might pick it up 3, 4 times, flip through it, say, hey, that's interesting, and maybe make a plan.
Yeah, mine's in the bathroom.
Well, that's another great
I'm just
way
saying. I'm going to be completely honest here. It's in the bathroom. I'm like, who has time to
Yeah,
sit
we
at
used
the
to get
coffee
about-
table? I'm like, what?
We used to get about 10 magazines a month from when I
Yeah.
lived in Weston. Easily.
Yeah. And that's
That's
great
a
though,
very
because
interesting realm. I will say now that none of my venues have opted to go that route yet. However, I am eager to see how that ends up playing out. It's definitely something to keep in mind for these venues, as likely you'll have representatives coming to meet with you and
yeah,
ask you where it is that you guys would like to fall on that spectrum of being able to utilize their magazine. So there's a lot of different,
a lot of different
opportunities
opportunities
and a lot of different ways that you can bring in referrals. So as
Right.
you said before, that word of mouth, it's one of the most powerful things, but it's not the most efficient when you are looking to, especially when you have a $30,000 a month mortgage to keep your lights on.
Right.
It doesn't work out when you're only getting as many people that talk about you. You have to be in other realms. You have to be on all platforms of social media. You have to be on Google, anything that you could possibly do to have a keyword searched and your venue, your website, your anything pop up very first with that keyword.
What's next for Leap?
I truly see myself getting into education. So
Really?
I am a big fan of the way it was structured.
Right.
Now, we won't talk about who structured it or what I would base it off of, but the
Right.
name
Right.
I have had what's come to me has been Fixers University. So I've always thought to myself, as a fixer, individual that you can put into any opportunity, I mean, any situation, and they're going to come out on top. So I am looking to most likely through, getting the company to a point where it is able to run itself from all the amazing individuals that I work with, start focusing on that. So that's going to be a big thing that I'm going to want to bring into the industry. So not only, fixers around the world and being able to have a population of people, jack of all trades, that can just run and gun and do the very best that they could possibly do in the world and society, but also create an absolute monster team of the most diehard, amazing event specialists and people that can take the experiences that are available down here in Florida to the very next level.
Amazing. Awesome.
Very cool.
I'm
Very
so blown away. I mean, so if somebody wants to get in touch with you, we've been running the Instagram on the ticker tape, but if you're listening to the podcast, at I'm Austin Blake is the best way to check out what Austin is doing himself. And then of course there's at Redline Koi Gardens, at
Schnebly Winery.
Thank you, Schnebly Wine, and at Palapa Miami and Upper Buena Vista. So multiple different Instagram accounts, so you might have to rewind and listen to those again. But if somebody wanted to reach out to you personally, is it best to go through the Instagram account I'm Austin Blake?
Anybody listening to this podcast, my phone number is 954-818-4930.
Wow.
Call, text anytime, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. You are absolutely welcome.
So in other words, you'll get it.
Call and chat. So long as I'm not currently on a call or I'm available, we'll chat.
Austin, you've been an amazing guest. Thank you again.
Thank you. Great information.
Yeah, some great information in here, and you're really doing some incredible stuff with really, truly unique venues here in South Florida, and I can't wait to see what you do next. Yeah?
Absolutely. Can't wait.
All right,
to share
guys.
with you, Keith.
Yay. All right, guys. So
And
we'll
Marcy.
see you. Yeah, and Marcy.
Thank you.
Again, thank you so much. Okay, we'll be back next Tuesday at 2:00, but for now, we're all going to say goodbye.